As some of you may have heard, there was a decision that came out today by a grand jury not to indict police officers who had interacted with an individual named Eric Garner in New York City, all of which was caught on videotape and speaks to the larger issues that we've been talking about now for the last week, the last month, the last year, and sadly, for decades. And that is the concern on the part of too many minority communities that law enforcement is not working with them and dealing with them in a fair way.
This is Insight with Latrese.
Don't let any of your gifts or talents lay dormant. Success is your only option. Carry on. See you at the top. Success will happen when your dreams get bigger and your excuses get smaller. You are powerful beyond belief. Be strong, stay tough, and fight till the end. It's Insights with Latrese.
Hello, welcome. You are watching Insights with Latrese. I am your host, Latrese Kabuya. Today's topic is going to be really deep. It's going to touch home, but I think it's going to be very informative and you're going to get some insight. Today's topic is called, Do Black Lives Matter? And we have some amazing guests on the panel, and we're going to get started, but first let me introduce you to our guests. The first person I have here is Chris Brown. He's an attorney at law, so he is here, and I thank you and appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you for inviting me.
Then I have Michael Cross, who is a security specialist for a museum. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And we also have Carlose Estes, who's in the financial arena, and he's a business owner. Thank you, sir, as well. So now we're going to get started on the topic, Black Lives Matter. As you know, we have watched the news and we know what's going on with the Ferguson, Missouri. We have another issue that we're talking about with a gentleman who just passed away by the hands of a cop. We'll get into it, but the first thing I want to do is talk to you about the benefit of a badge. Do cops get the benefit because they carry a badge? In these cases, like I said, with Eric Garner, you know, I'm just still kind of numb in all of this because we had the videotape. We see what has been done. We know that a chokehold is not permitted in that state, what they did. So tell me, whoever wants to answer that, talk to me.
Well, it seems that the police can act with impunity at this point in this country.
Okay.
To go to your question of do Black Lives Matter, I'd love it if all lives matter.
Yes.
But we certainly seem to have a distinction that's based on the color of your skin. And Eric Garner lays there on the ground, and while he's down and restrained, says, "I can't breathe," 11 times.
Right.
The pat response will be, when you resist arrest, bad things happen.
Mm-hmm.
He was restrained.
Right.
And saying, "I can't breathe." How that doesn't meet the standard that at a minimum manslaughter, it baffles me. I don't know how any justice system in the world can justify that. That has to be at least manslaughter.
Well, how can the community put their trust in the justice system at this point? Is it fair?
It can't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. To go to your question, do the police get the benefit of the doubt because of their badge?
Yeah.
Obviously they do, and you know, I don't think me or anyone were saying that, you know, that all police are bad or that all police are corrupt.
Sure.
But in circumstances such as this, the police obviously get a benefit of the doubt. You know, people view that as a very dangerous profession, which it is. But you know, if you actually read the numbers, there's plenty of other professions where people are dying at 2, 3, 4 times the rate that policemen are dying in the line of their duty. So yeah, yes, it's, you know, we're thankful for police and what they do, but in certain circumstances, absolutely they get the benefit of the doubt. You know, just even in how our laws are written, where the threshold for use of force is just the fear that they may be harmed, and so that fear could just if they can prove that fear is real, then the use of force is justified. Well, that fear could also be unjustified. That fear could be based upon some preconceived notion. That fear could be based upon some bias that they have. But since what causes the fear isn't the relevant fact. It's just there's the fear itself. And so, you know, in many other criminal cases, you know, the threshold isn't as easy to find as there are for justifying police use of force. So, you know, and so that gives the police a lot of latitude. Some people think it's deserved, others would not so much.
Right.
But, you know,
right.
And so,
well, I'll say this. So what does it take to get a cop indicted? I mean, we saw it on film. It is very clear. So tell me.
Well, let's talk about, okay, so let's talk about what an indictment is.
Okay.
First of all.
Okay, sure.
An indictment is simply probable cause that a crime has been committed.
Okay.
Probable cause is maybe the second lowest of the thresholds of proof in the legal system. And so for probable cause to be determined, it's just more probable than not. And that's all it is. So it's basically a little over 51%, if you want to give it a number, that some crime has been committed. And so what you see in particularly the Mike Brown case and the Eric Garner case, these grand juries voted. You know, they decided that there wasn't even more evidence than not that a crime was committed, which is actually.
But why? I guess my question is, you see it. You see it.
Right.
I see it. Why didn't those jurors see it? What was that?
In the Brown case, the prosecutor really acted more like a defense attorney for Officer Wilson. So he, rather than trying Officer Wilson and trying to establish, which is his job, that there was probable cause to indict, he argued it in reverse, that there wasn't probable cause. Right. And the jury gets what they get. They get the case that's laid out. So in that case, what they got was somebody defending Officer Wilson rather than prosecuting him for the death of Mike Brown.
If there's much more. One thing that Bob McCullough, the prosecutor in the Michael Brown case, did do, he released all of the evidence that was presented. So we know a lot more about that case right now than we do about what was presented in the Eric Garner case. And so just like Michael said here, there's so much, you know, it seems as if Bob McCullough started from the position that I don't want to prosecute. So instead of, you know, most prosecutors are on the side of obviously the other side. My job is to prosecute, so I'm going after the indictment.
Go after it.
And so he did something very unorthodox, very, you know, and, you know, I think almost maybe criminal, where instead of presenting the evidence, what he did was he cross-examined witnesses that were the I guess you could say pro-indictment witnesses. His office cross-examined those witnesses, but simply presented all of the other side that would I guess what you would call exculpatory evidence, which would kind of clear Officer Wilson. He presented that as unrefuted fact. There was no one on the other side to then come and cross-examine, which is it's a real abuse of the grand jury system. The grand jury system is basically we're going to lay this evidence out. If you find there's more evidence than not that a crime was committed, we'll go to trial. And then at trial, now we have two opposite sides who are going to be mediated by an impartial judge, and there's going to be a back and forth between those two opposite sides. And through that process, the 12 jurors are going to decide who they believe, beyond a reasonable doubt. And so, in this case, because there's no other side in the grand jury process, it was really an abuse of the process. It was an abuse of the system, where
it's a betrayal of trust.
It really
absolutely,
is. It
absolutely
really is. It really is. And so, with that, I know that for the Eric Garner case, they can't release any information how that trial everything went in. But they almost need to, because to me it has to be retried. And I don't know all the legal.
Generally, grand juries, they won't be reconvened unless there's some new evidence that comes out. And
I'm sure they can find some new evidence. I'm clear that can be done.
Right.
If someone really wants to.
Right.
I believe that.
But I think in the Garner case, I hope anyway, that it's a slam dunk that we'll get a federal civil rights trial.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how a reasonable human being can look at that video and not find a civil rights violation.
Right. But civil rights, aren't they, that he's still not going to do any jail time?
Counselor?
He wouldn't.
That's more of
But it would it would obviously be a monetary damage. He wouldn't go to federal prison for it. But it would, at the same time, something's better than nothing.
Okay.
And and like in the past, jurisdictions who've been habitual what do I want to say here? Violators of civil rights. Those police departments have been shut down and restarted from the bottom up. There's several different ways that they can do it. They can be taken over by the Justice Department, and there's certain things that can go moving forward. But yeah, that officer, he wouldn't do it in jail time in a civil rights violation.
Okay.
It'd just be they just assign a money damage to it and pay it out to his family.
To me, I don't know. That's something. It's not. A life was lost. Carlos, I'm looking at you. You're a big black guy. I'm looking at Chris, big black guy. I get it. But did it take 6 officers to take this guy down? To me, I didn't see him fighting. Again, I go back and I know we kind of have hit it and we'll probably hit it again, but I guess my mindset, I'm like, he didn't fight, he didn't act a fool, he was just like, look, just leave me alone, and 6, talk to me.
Well, and what's his crime?
Cigarettes. I'm not.
No. He was. He wasn't selling. In the past, he was known for selling illegal cigarettes.
Right, because they have not proven.
Right, there was
it wasn't.
He was there breaking up a fight that happened earlier.
Okay.
And so when the police arrived on the scene, they had obviously had a lot of contact with them in the past.
Right.
And so he was known for selling illegal cigarettes, but that's not what he was doing that day.
Okay.
And so really, as he stands there and you see him gesture, what he's saying is,
right,
I'm not doing that.
Right.
And for defending himself, not physically, but defending his right to be a free human being on that sidewalk, he got killed. He was murdered for being alive in a place they didn't want him to be.
6. Tell me this, you two being big black men, when you're walking in a store, when you're walking down, in the mall, how are you treated? Because you guys, it's not just, you're small or little, you guys are tall and big. So do you think that makes a difference? How people perceive you, respond to you, treat you, whether it's just cops, whether it's just regular people? Talk to me.
being from Atlanta, I would say personal experience has taught me a plethora of things to do and not to do. Growing up where the KKK home office was in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and going to school just outside of that, you learn there are certain things that you can do to be treated equally and things to be treated unequally. By that being the case, I think what we see is that our young black men don't really have the understanding of what it means to be black, to be proud, but to be safe within that black pride. To honor where you come from, not just what you see today. So when I hop into the car and I go somewhere, or I'm at the mall, I'm doing something, I carry myself in a way that lets you know I'm not here to steal from you, I'm not here to hang out, I'm here to conduct business and move forward. And I think too many times we see television, we hear stories, we associate experiences, and then we begin to stereotype. I mean, let's face it, if we go get on the elevator and me and Chris standing on the elevator and there's someone that gets on there, she's probably gonna clutch her purse, even though we're both wearing business suits, right? But yet, if this man is on the elevator, she probably wants his business card. Now, here's the downside to that. Not all of America is like that, and I'm not trying to say that.
Right.
What I am trying to say is that the conversations that we don't have is it does exist. How do we get past it?
Well, that's if there's a way through.
Right.
And days like today, I'm hopeless. I felt really hopeless. But if there's a way through, it's finding that common humanity and changing the way. We have to change the way, not the way those of us that will sit down and talk it out, not the way we think and the way we speak, but we have to find a way to change the dialogue to, we were all teenagers.
Yeah.
Like we spoke over, we were all teenagers.
Absolutely.
We all did stupid damn things when we were teenagers. And I've got a son that's now a teenager. And if he does something dumb, I don't want him to be shot dead for it.
Right.
And if we can find those kernels that we share, maybe we can begin to build some dialogue. But man, it's hard. There's there's a propaganda machine that works to dehumanize the poor and people of color in this country. And Michael Brown became a thug like that.
Right.
And people that listened to those talking heads, that was it. The case was closed.
Right.
He's a thug.
You bring up a very good point, but here's one thing that I feel that we must bring to the table, and I think that we as a race must do a much better job of empowering ourselves with information and knowledge. And I'll share with you. The Rams came out and the 5 players had their hands up in protest. And the St. Louis Police Department released a statement that said, the thugs that are burning down homes are not the ones buying your tickets. Instantly, the first thing I thought was, how many African Americans in St. Louis actually went to the polls to pick their sheriff? Actually went to the polls to get information about crime in the neighborhood. And so for years, if you want to get past our race, put it in writing, because we're not going to read it. And that's what we got to stop and become empowered to move forward, because if we get educated leaders who can tell our story will change. But right now, we don't go to the polls, and then this person represents me, he doesn't even know who I am. So it starts with us, and I feel like we're going to be the ones, and I know people are going to hate me for saying this, but here's how I really feel. We are really out here raising all kind of saying about a white man that killed a black man. But yet, right here in our own city, Kansas City, we have a drive-by shooting for a 4-year-old girl that was done by a black man, and she can't get enough people to walk with her on Sundays till we find her killed. So it's not just about the races killing us, we're killing us. And to me, it all starts with first, our black men, our black women. Let's stop having kids out of wedlock, because now 50 Cent, Tupac, all the rappers are raising our kids on television, or we're working 2 jobs but doesn't have a good life. What they need is somebody to be at home and give them foundation, education, make sure they're doing their homework. It starts there, because the skill set is so weak that when we get to high school, we can't compete, so we rely on stealing and doing different things to survive, and that has to actually just change. And we can just start educating ourselves, academically moving ourselves forward, and then empowering ourselves to participate with what's going on in government. Help pick our leaders. I mean, I go back and think that our forefathers died for the right just to vote. Yet we don't go to the polls. So if you want to fix it, I think we got this right there.
I agree with a lot of what you just said, but at the same time, none of that excuses the other. None of that excuses the other side of it.
Not at all. But that's a symptom of a bigger problem.
Exactly, and so you'll hear a lot of people bring up the things, a lot of what you just said, and they'll say it almost as if it justifies the negative treatment on the other side.
No, I'm not saying.
And I know you're not saying it, but I just wanted to put that out there that a lot, and just kind of like Michael said, and within a day of Michael Brown being killed, he was labeled as a thug. So
immediately,
because he was a thug, this is what happens to thugs. So if
almost like a justification.
If it wasn't this cop that did it, it was going to be somebody on the block that did it. So
which goes back to why was you even showing stealing cigarettes? What was the point of that?
Exactly. You just I don't know if you guys saw with the 12-year-old kid who had the airsoft gun who was shot by the cop in the park. A day later, they released information about his father was involved in this many domestic violence cases, as if that had any bearing on and so yes, we as people, we need to do a better job empowering ourselves, but at the same time, while there's a reason why, there's also a bigger reason why we even need to empower ourselves, because there's been disproportionate things that's happened in the past to where we wind up where we are, but at the same time, it doesn't justify unequal treatment. It doesn't justify a legal system that has the deck stacked against us. Yes, there's things we can do to make it better, but it doesn't justify the root cause of it all happening either.
No, there are some serious issues with how we administer justice equally.
Absolutely.
And so I don't want to even give the impression that I don't acknowledge that. All I want to bring to the table is that it's not just fix the police. It's a multitude of things that we have to do, and it begins on being a part of the entire process.
Exactly.
Not just picketing because of a murder, picket because of who's leading your organization. Decide who wants to be your representative of the state. Look at who the sheriff is. Get involved in that piece of it too, because out of all honesty, we as a race put more money in the economy than almost any other minority race in this country.
Right.
Yet, we go to the polls less than any other race in this country.
Well, let me just jump in for a moment. So, and I definitely get both sides, and I understand everything that everyone is saying here. But I was watching the news, CNN, and one of the guests there said, how do we fix the justice system for African American people when it was never made for us?
Correct.
So tell me this, what's your thoughts on that? How do we put our trust back in it when people clearly think it wasn't made for us? So how do we fix something that was never made for us?
Well, just because it wasn't made for you doesn't mean you can't make it in the future work for you.
Okay.
And so it goes back goes back to what Carlose was saying.
Okay.
Ferguson is 76% black, but they have nearly all but 3 of the police officers are white. Their mayor, everyone on the city council except 1 is white. And so in this last midterm election, they had less than 30% turnout, in the election. So, I know they're in the, for the city and, municipal elections that are upcoming, they're trying to change that, but, too little too late now, it's already, yes, that's gonna be good for the future, but it's not helping anything right now. Bob McCullough, the prosecutor in the case, ran unopposed this last election. There wasn't, and so
so it kind of justifies what he is saying, and
to change
it.
And so we want to talk about the use of force laws. Well, you can't change the laws if you don't have representatives, in position to help vote those new laws in. So it's getting the people who represent you in position to change the laws. So if you have more representatives who represent you, then they can appoint more judges that represent you, and it's a filter down. It'll all filter down. And so just like, you know, in the 60s and, you know, 50s, they weren't just marching. They were trying court cases. They were, you know, they were advocating for, you know, the Civil Rights Acts and the Voting Rights Act. So, you know, a lot of attention is just, oh, Martin Luther King marched and they do all these great speeches. It was a lot more than that going on. They, you know, like I said, you know, there was a lot of influential court cases going on. They were advocating, you know, they were lobbying Congress to pass these, you know, these landmark bills, and so it was a comprehensive effort. So all we have now is kind of the legacy. Oh, people marched and this stuff happened. So people are marching, but they're not doing the other side of it.
Right.
So with that said,
Let's get into the looting. You know, they're tearing up Ferguson and other places in America. What are your thoughts on all of that? Because I hear, you know, the side, well, this is how we're going to respond. You know, we're mad, we're angry at what's going on. But then on the other side, I hear, why are you doing this to us? You know, we're doing it to our own people. So what's your thoughts? Talk to me, Michael.
The night of the Michael Brown verdict, and I wish I knew this gentleman's name, but the MSNBC anchor on the ground grabbed a local professor that he knew, who was working with the youth of the neighborhood. And it was a very eloquent interview. He was heartbroken. But the point he made in the middle of his speech and at the end was, what you're seeing is people who are hopeless. And that really landed for me.
Wow.
When you're hopeless, what do? How do you get somebody's attention if you feel my kids are going to get shot, nobody's going to give a damn, there'll be no justice?
Wow.
What do? My wife and I have been having this discussion. I mean, looting's bad.
Yeah.
Destruction of private property is bad. I don't endorse it, but I don't know that it's not going to take it happening all over. I don't know that peaceful protests are going to do it. You know, back to your points about civil rights marches, those were not always peaceful marches. People got beaten and it was horrific on the ground. It made, I mean, I hope not. I hope there's a way through that doesn't require that, but I'm concerned that there's not.
but I like that point. You know, when you're hopeless, I mean,
What do you do?
what do you do?
And
Yeah.
Carlose, I tell you, that was remarkable what you said for me, for a couple of reasons. It was eloquent and powerful and to the point, but also you hear people like Bill O'Reilly and those maniacs, and I don't know what else to call them, who will in one breath dismiss the murder of a young black man and then justify the dismissal of it by citing black on black crime statistics, as if they're not apples and oranges, as if we shouldn't hold the police to a higher damn standard than we hold gangs that operate in the inner city in Chicago. So that was a great thing for me to listen to hear it from your viewpoint. It's right to the heart of the matter, and let's not allow those that would dismiss the humanity of segments of our country to use that as a tool to do something.
Well,
So I will share with you. You said that as we look at this whole situation, what stands out to me is we keep trying to look at that one silver bullet, and that's where I'm trying to redirect to. It is a multitude of consistency. And what I do think that we've done, our selfishness in social media has gotten us to instant gratification. Let's face it, Dr. King didn't just walk for a month and get a breakthrough, right? The Underground Railroad wasn't a couple of weeks and we all was free.
Right.
So what we have to do as a race is understand that we may not see the fruits of our labor, but we're not just doing it for us. I mean, let's face it, I'm in the suburbs, I grew up in the hood, but at this point in time, I know where I live, but I don't forget who I am. If I go to certain parts of the city that has a higher crime rate, I adjust accordingly. But at the same time, what are we doing to help that particular area in need? Because high crime is just high need for hope, if you ask me. How do we find a way to get this area hope that they can survive, they can produce? Now here's the issue I got with the burning down of your own neighborhood. The people that had those jobs were your neighbors, your cousins, your family members. You've now taken that business owner who may have been African American or not, and you've taken that business out of your neighborhood. Because let's face it, if I'm the business owner and you burn down my building out of frustration because you are out of hope, how do I know you won't do it again? So what am I going to do? Take my insurance check, because I'm still going to get paid for my building. I had insurance. I'm going to relocate my business to an area that not excludes you, and we created even more issues of no hope.
Wow.
So we got to recognize, and notice too, when you look what the police did, they kind of stood back at a distance when you were burning down your own stuff.
Wow.
You know, they didn't jump in right away and stop you. Now, had we gone to the mall in the suburbs where it was going to be a lot more issues, you would have seen arrests, you would have seen all kinds of stuff. So we have to realize that while we're making a statement, who are we really hurting there?
We are hurting ourselves.
We're hurting ourselves. So now who's out of a job? Which one of my cousins can't go to work now because we burned the McDonald's down? And Quick Trip, I mean, you know, like I know that's a black neighborhood staple, right? You got your sweet teas, your bread, your gas, all in one spot.
Right.
You burn out a Quick Trip, where we gonna go now?
Yeah.
So that's what broke my heart around.
And you brought up a point about social media. I know that, man, when I was looking at social media, I was looking at Michael's. I follow him, and you know, he doesn't hold his tongue. But the one thing that I noticed a lot with our white sisters and brothers, they were very insensitive. You know, there was, when the verdict came and they, you know, announced it, I think Dancing with the Stars was on, and I saw tweets, I saw on Facebook them saying, you know what, why is that important? I'm missing my show. You know, so I thought, wow, and these are some people that I've known for years that I grew up, you know, with in Tonganoxie, Kansas, and I'm reading this, I'm like, do you not realize a child died? Someone's baby, you know, has died, and this is the verdict we got, and you're insensitive, but you just want to watch Dancing with the Stars. So you saw wars on Facebook. He was included in the war. I think you lost some friends.
There's nobody left.
I lost many followers.
You know, but and I'm gonna tell you, I was heartbroken because I was like, wow, I thought I knew this person. Not that I have to agree with you and you have to agree with me on everything, but when it comes to life and humanity, man, I thought we were on the same page. And so that really took me back, you know, looking at all the comments on Facebook. Did you guys, I know you did, but you know, Michael was a force. But how did you guys feel when you saw your white sister and brother, you know, just real insensitive to the matter?
Something that stood out to me, I'm following, and his name escapes me now, but he's an evangelist. Well, I think he's actually a pastor, but he tweeted out that, you know, his heart was hurting about the situation, and he has a predominantly white church, and so his parishioners were tweeting back to him, appalled that he would even comment on it, and it was he was taken up, you know, in the conversation. He was taken aback. He was like, you know, because in his tweet it didn't say that he supported one side or the other, right. Just that, you know, his heart was hurting to see the outcome and how everything was unfolding. And so it was so disheartening that, you know, there were his push. This was their pastor that they were talking about, and their pastor was just expressing his heart was hurting, and so they were so insensitive to what was going on, and that he may have been and he didn't explicitly say that he was, you know, for or against the decision, but that he might have been, you know, on the other side of their position, and that, you know, all he was expressing was that he just wanted the love of God to prevail.
Yes.
And they were, you know, oh, well, justice was served, and you should be on the side of justice, and this is what the justice system says, and this is what you need to stand by. And it was so insensitive, and that's what it didn't matter, you know, whether you knew the person and you didn't. Like, this was, you know, and to me I could never see myself being that insensitive where I would, you know, go against, you know, the person that I look to for spiritual guidance and attack him for possibly being on the other side of, you know, an issue like this. And that's what it struck me, that's so odd that, you know, even, you know, those who are Christians who, you know, say they love God, you know, but they couldn't see the other side of it enough, even, you know, to, you know, in love of God's people, to possibly even see what the other side can even be hurting over it.
Okay, so what's your take on this?
It's very hard for people to assimilate what they don't understand. So your friends that, you know, why this disrupted my show, you know, I want to see Dancing with the Stars, they haven't been black and pulled over 22 times in Kansas City because you were driving a Tahoe with tinted windows. They don't know what it is to walk into a grocery store and have the cops called on you because someone said you had a gun. So they can't relate to what it is that someone would experience. I'll go back to the OJ case. It was very convenient how the camera showed all of the black organizations across the country celebrating when OJ got off the case, right? What people didn't realize is we were not celebrating the death of those two people and somebody got away with it. The celebration was about the justice system finally didn't convict one of us without having the proper steps in place to do so. So they were celebrating that maybe it has hope, it could actually work. And so I think that we too often put our confidence in people, right? Because people only go by experiences. You know, the person you dealt with that didn't want to have their show lost, maybe she got robbed by somebody of a minority race. Maybe she doesn't care because she's never lived this on one like that. We got to start relying on people and just start doing what we can do. And if all of us empowers ourselves and we act in compassion, that's what's contagious. We expect the love of Christ, but do we give it first? And I think that's what's missing, is that Christ went around and he acted, right? He did things, he displayed it. And we often sit back and judge it. You know, I don't care if she didn't want to miss her show. But what I do care if I come to her and say, hey, listen, we're concerned about the person in your area being against, you know, minority crime in an unfair way. Are you going to stand with us when you pick it because we want a better leader? That's what I care about. Can you say yes to that? And then if you can't, then you maybe need some new friends.
Absolutely.
You know, so to me, that's really important.
And I saw that. I saw that people were, you know, deleting friends, and friends were falling out. And, and so, you know, it's really sad. But did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Carlose really got to what I was going to say, but it's just that it's that Christ-like attitude. That I have a friend that is saying she's going to invent her own religion because she's so frustrated. And she said, so can you suggest some ideas? I said, well, let's start with that one everybody doesn't ever do, which is treat everybody else like you want to be treated.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right? That's
Absolutely.
somebody's kid who was shot dead in the middle of the street and left there for 4 hours. That's why your television shows are being interrupted.
Yeah. And that's, I guess that was what I thought about, because when I saw all these, you know, statements, I'm like, they have kids. They have 2 boys. They have a girl. You know, and I'm like, if nothing else matters, forget race for a minute. This is someone's child that did not get justice. And we didn't really touch much on the 12-year-old boy that was shot because he had a BB gun. You know, they said that he looked 20. You know, so again, we're justifying.
So it's okay to shoot.
So it's okay, you know. But my last question, you guys have done a phenomenal job. I want to hear from each one of you. This last question, and I want to start with you, Carlose, because I think this will be good. You'll get it started for us. Are all men, in your opinion, created equal?
In my opinion, no.
Why not? Why or why not?
Well, no, I'll take that back, yes. I think all men are created equal. I think the difficulty that we encounter is that biasness is taught, right? I look at my kids and they play in our neighborhood. You know, the neighbor over here is from Portuguese, this neighbor's Asian, this neighbor's white. And when they play kickball or basketball or baseball, nobody cares what color you are. Nobody cares what size you are. You may hear some silly jokes, but you never hear about race relations in that situation. What I'm understanding is that our biasness is what makes us unequal. So you teach your kids, if you see the black kids in the hoodie and the gold teeth, look out, don't go that way. Or you teach your kids that the white kid with a skin head and a tattoo means he doesn't like African Americans. So no, I don't think that we are created equal, but we're just taught to be biased, and that's what we gotta get rid of. We gotta remove ignorance from the equation, and then when we're created equal, maybe we can stay equal, but we gotta first fight ignorance.
That's good. Michael?
Can't really say it better than that.
Okay.
Yes, all men are created equal. And human beings are flawed, deeply flawed. The systems and mechanisms we put in place that we call civilization are horribly flawed. The bias that Carlos speaks to is inherent in virtually everything we've built. And only by being willing to sit down and talk it out and speak truth to power are we ever going to change it. Some great things have been said here tonight. We have to empower. We have to find a way to empower everyone. And there's a lot of work to do, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Chris?
I don't know. Obviously, when that statement's said, it's always in the context that I feel like it's in the context that all men are created they were created to have an equal chance at things, and I do believe that. But are all people created equal? I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, let me say this. I believe that we all have the same value, so we're equal in that way, but we're not equal in how we were created. And so, but at the same time, it's still, should all men be treated equally? Yes. Should all men have the same chance at life? Yes. But were we all created the same? No. But I guess that's what makes the world great. Everybody's not the same. Everybody, it wasn't created the same. But we should all have the same chance. And so in that respect, are all men created equal? Yes. We should all. I think we're all created to have an equal chance at life, and to just experience I guess the old phrase, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yeah, we should all have an equal chance at that.
Okay. Wow. Well, man, this has been awesome. I thank you, Carlos Estes. I thank you, Michael Cross. I thank you, Chris Brown. This has been very insightful, and it has been wonderful. And you are watching Insight with Latrese. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Well, I am so excited about the No More Excuses event. How are you feeling? I am so excited. There are so many people that are coming from around the country this year. And we're so excited to have Black Enterprise Magazine be the media sponsor for this year. Yeah. But more importantly, the VIP guests are all the business owners and aspiring business owners and business professionals that are going to come so that they really can help start 2015 at a stronger point. So I'm so excited. We've got lots of surprises.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. What can we expect differently from last year? Because last year I came and it was absolutely amazing. It was impactful. So what can I expect for this year?
Some of the same things that are really great, we will repeat. We're going to have our vendors. We also will have a business panel that was a lot of success, but we're changing the business panel up a little bit. It's going to be made up of individuals that are going to offer consulting. And so we're going to have an element of speedy consulting at the event. So we're really excited about that.
as well as we are going to add some mocktails this year.
Okay.
Not to be confused with cocktails, but mocktails this year, as well as we're going to do a business pitch. We're going to have individuals that are pitching their startup idea.
Wow.
And we will, by the time we get to the No More Excuses event, we'll be down to the top 3 finalists. And that night, they will determine, the crowd, all of the people that are there, will determine who will get the winner's package.
Wow.
And guess what?
What?
The winner's package is valued over $2,500.
What can you say?
And part of that is $500 cash. And so that's really going to help some aspiring business owner. That can make the difference in them starting or not starting. Because I'm an advocate of, you don't need business money to start your business.
Okay.
But there are some things as you move forward that you do need. So this winner's package is going to allow them to help with marketing strategies, their financial strategies, their business startup, logos, business cards. We're just excited. We still got people that are signing up to be part of that business winning package.
Well, with that, since people are signing up, what about the person that just found out? Give some contact information so everyone has that opportunity.
If you are just now hearing about the No More Excuses 2015, I want to encourage you to go to the website. That is nmeor.com. www.neorm.com. Or you can always contact 5-Star Tax at 816-444-0004, 816-444-0004, or marquitamiller.com, and you will be able to get registered for this event. And we also, if you pre-register, because the event is going to be downtown, with every pre-registration, parking is included. And that's covered parking. So we know it's in January, so you're going to be nice and warm, but you must pre-register, because I'm telling you, and this is not just a saying, this event is going to sell out.
Wow, this is going to be epic. I am so excited because, like I said, last year it was so impactful, so I just cannot wait till January gets here. And so I'm telling you, you don't want to miss it. Thank you, Marquita, for the opportunity for someone like me who is a business owner to get exposed to all of this. And thank you for sitting in my chair. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I'm watching Insights with Latrese.